My heat arrived earlier than expected, and somehow, I ended up sleeping with my best friend's older brother. He was a strong, dominant alpha, Frank Cole. And I was a sweet, clingy omega. By all accounts, we were a perfect biological match. But Frank Cole was a seasoned player in the game of love. He'd seen more charming omegas than I could count. The kind of man who had experienced so much, someone like me probably wouldn't even make a dent in his memory. So I assumed he wouldn't take me seriously. Yet, against all expectations, he told me he'd take responsibility. I didn't want him to stay with me out of guilt or obligation. Just because of one impulsive night. I didn't want to chain him to me like that. So I joked, trying to brush it off lightly. I'm the clingy type. Once I fall for someone, that's it for life. You'll never be able to shake me off, not even if you tried. Frank Cole calmly lit a cigarette, his gaze unreadable. You've listed all your strengths, he said with a lazy smile. What about your flaws? Welcome to He History Channel. Subscribe to follow all our latest adventures. Story begins. Let's get married. Frank Cole said it so casually as he finished buttoning up his shirt. The dark, tailored suit brought out the full sharpness of his figure, broad shoulders, narrow waist, lean hips. Even his ass had that perfect curve. Fresh red scratch marks trailed faintly down his neck, like proof of last night's chaos. I stared at him, stunned. Only my head peeked out from beneath the blanket. Frank, you're not joking, are you? The assistant had apparently dropped off clothes in my size, neatly folded and sitting on the nightstand. But I couldn't move. The room still reeked of intermingling scents, sharp cherry brandy tangled with fresh grapefruit. The aftersmell of heat and possession. Shredded clothing littered the floor, evidence of just how intense last night had been. My heat had come early, and I'd accidentally slept with Frank Cole. Frank Cole, my childhood best friend's older brother. We'd grown up following him around like ducklings, watching him flirt and fall madly in love with one omega after another. He had seen more stunning omegas than I could ever hope to compete with. So why me? Frank leaned down and swept his gaze slowly over my body, deep eyes unreadable. Do I look like someone who jokes? I dropped my head and nearly buried myself in the sheets. I couldn't bring myself to meet his eyes. If Tony finds out, he's going to kill me. Yesterday we were just buddies. Tomorrow, I'd be his brother-in-law? Frank's voice chilled slightly. Or, are you unwilling? This was Frank Cole. Golden boy. Gorgeous, smart, born into wealth. The kind of man omegas would line up for from here to the southern hemisphere. Who wouldn't want him? Still wrapped in nerves, I tried to make a joke. I'm super clingy, you know. Once I fall for someone, that's it for life. You won't be able to shake me off, no matter how hard you try. I've also got a serious control streak. If you marry me, you'll be dealing with a lot of drama, Frank. He strolled to the window and lit a cigarette, his voice casual as ever. So those are your strengths. What about your flaws? It took me a long moment to realize what he meant. Wasn't I trying to scare him off? I didn't need him to feel responsible. It was just a temporary mark last night, 1 week and it'd fade. I couldn't help but ask again. Why me? Among the countless omegas chasing after him, I was the least noticeable. I hadn't even tried to win his attention. So why? Frank gave a low chuckle and narrowed his eyes. Ever heard of reciprocation? You were in heat and I helped you. My rut's coming up soon, so now it's your turn. It made sense on paper, but something about it felt off. I blinked. He glanced at his watch. If there's no objection, then it's settled. 3 p.m. at the Civil Affairs Bureau. And before I could react, he opened the door and left. Just like that, it felt oddly like escape. When he was gone, I finally crawled out of bed, still naked under the sheets. Even after everything we'd done the night before, I couldn't stop the wave of shame now that I was fully sober. Embarrassing images flickered in my mind. His low, raspy voice whispering against my ear. Anthony. My cheeks burned just thinking about it. Frank Cole had been a gentle and considerate lover, soft where he needed to be, firm when I needed him to be. He carried me to the bathroom afterward, holding me like I might break, even washing me clean himself. Anthony. Spit it out. Did you too, do it? Did you kiss? Did you go all the way? Was it a real mark or just a temporary one? The moment I stepped out of the hotel, I told Tony everything. He'd always known about my crush on his brother. Tony practically exploded. He circled around me like a spinning top, eyes gleaming with excitement. Do you realize you reek of him right now? Like you're marinated in his scent. He. I lowered my head and sniffed gently at my own chest. Even after changing clothes, that scent of cherry brandy still lingered, clinging to me like it had seeped into my very skin. It smelled good. I gave Tony a quick, vague rundown of what happened the night before. Your brother, man, never judge a book by its cover. Looks all cold and classy on the outside, but once the clothes are off, damn. Tony puffed up with pride. Well, of course. My brother's the top alpha, the king of alphas. I threw on my best imitation of Frank Cole's smug, magnetic tone, leaning into full-on CO mode. What? You're not thrilled to marry me? Am I, Frank Cole, not good enough for you? Anyway, 3 o'clock. Civil Affairs Bureau. See you there. I cracked up as soon as I finished. Tony was practically vibrating with excitement. Holy shit. That means you're gonna be my brother-in-law. I treated you like a bro, he gasped dramatically, and now you want to become my brother-in-law? I arched a brow. What, you don't approve? Tony grinned like the sun. Approve? I support this with all my limbs. Anthony, you finally locked down my brother. We're officially family now. That brilliant, gorgeous, universally adored little sweetheart of an Omega? That's our Anthony. You two are perfect together. No one else qualifies to be my brother-in-law. Period. I knew it. Tony always loved me best. No matter what I was going through, he'd stand firmly by my side, every single time. The kind of emotional support most people would kill for. I leaned over and planted a kiss on his soft, pale cheek. All right, no more chatting. I've got some prep to do. Civil Affairs Bureau waits for no one. Back home, I carefully styled my hair and changed into the best outfit I owned. At 1 p.m., I grabbed my ID and headed out. I was buzzing the whole way there, like walking on clouds. This weird sense of disbelief wrapped around me. Was I really going to marry Frank Cole? The guy I'd crushed on for years would, by this afternoon, become my official, legal alpha. I glanced at the passing scenery outside the window and then at the bouquet resting on the passenger seat. My heart thudded. And just then, a gut-wrenching feeling twisted in my chest. Before I could process it, a massive truck came barreling around the corner, completely out of control. I had no time to dodge. My car was slammed violently against the guardrail, metal crunching and glass shattering. Just before I blacked out, I thought I saw Frank Cole's face flash through my mind. I'm sorry, Frank. Looks like I won't make it after all. When I woke up, it was already 6 in the evening. The surgery was over. My throat felt like it had been sandpapered raw, every word stuck. But at least I could still move my fingers. Still type. Tony rushed to my side, eyes red and swollen, barely holding back tears. He looked like a wreck, like someone had wrung him out and hung him up to dry. He was listed as my emergency contact, so the hospital had called him after the crash. Tears welled up in his eyes again the moment he saw me awake. Anthony, does it hurt? God, it must hurt. You were bleeding so much. If it hurts, cry. It's okay, I'll wipe your tears. I'll take care of you, I promise. I slowly typed out a response with aching fingers. Tony, I'm okay. But Frank Cole. Frank. I immediately grabbed my phone and sent him a message. Sorry. I might not make it today. Something happened on the way. Frank had apparently been waiting outside the Civil Affairs Bureau since the afternoon. He stood there for 4 whole hours. No call. No message. No sign of me. By the time the office closed and I still hadn't shown up, his patience snapped. When he finally saw my text, his voice message came through fast and sharp. Anthony Stone. Last minute cold feet? Really classy of you. He sounded pissed. Like really pissed. I typed back in a rush. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to stand you up. It all happened so fast that everyone completely forgot to notify Frank Cole. Tony couldn't stand it anymore. He immediately picked up his phone and called Frank. Bro, stop being mad already. The first thing your brother-in-law did when he woke up was send you a message to explain. He's still lying in the hospital bed right now, he can't even talk yet. Frank, understandably pissed after being stood up, especially for something as major as a marriage registration, was in no mood for jokes. What did you just say? Brother-in-law? Who are you calling that? Don't be ridiculous. Tony rushed to explain. Anthony. He was in a car accident. The moment Frank heard that, his whole demeanor changed. What hospital? XX hospital. Got it. I'm on my way. Honestly, I hadn't planned on letting Frank know about the accident. I looked awful right now. My face was wrapped in gauze, and every inch of me was bruised and pitiful. What if he saw me and regretted it all? What if he decided I wasn't worth marrying anymore? Tony, you traitor. You've totally ruined me. I gave him a mournful, betrayed look. He shot back a quick, okay, got it, hand sign and immediately dialed Frank again. Frank, move your ass. Anthony's missing you like crazy. He said if you don't show up in the next 15 minutes, he's not gonna see you. You figure it out. Frank's voice came through loud and fast. Tell him not to be scared, I'll be there in 10. I could hear wind rushing past the receiver. He was either running or flying for all I knew. Tony hung up, snickering as he thumped his chest proudly. Anthony, I've got this. You can trust me. Trust you? Tony, are you trying to kill me while I'm already half dead? That's not what I meant at all. 10 minutes later, Frank Cole burst into the hospital room, panting like he'd just sprinted across the city. Anthony, I'm here. Tony stood up, smooth as ever, making way. Well, now that you're here, I'll head out. Lionel just called, he needs to see me in person about something. Then he turned to me. Anthony, remember what I told you. Don't waste the opportunity. Good luck. He winked and strolled out of the room like he was on a runway. Now that I needed rest more than ever, the hospital room suddenly felt quieter than ever. Frank's tall frame looked almost out of place beside the small hospital cot. He sat carefully, his long legs awkwardly folded, clearly not knowing where to put them. He'd changed out of his morning suit. His hair was slightly tousled, but it was obvious he'd fixed himself up before coming. We just looked at each other, saying nothing. Tony told me to use this chance to build our connection. Frank had clearly rushed over without a second thought. He must care about me, right? But I couldn't bring myself to say anything. Instead, I slowly closed my eyes and pretended to fall asleep. The thing is, pretending eventually turned into reality. When I opened my eyes again, the sky outside was pitch black. The room was so quiet it was almost eerie. I turned my head with some effort, blinking as I adjusted to the dark. Frank was still there, leaned sideways on the edge of the bed, fast asleep. If I were in better shape, this horny Omega would be doing unspeakable things right now. I'd liked him for so long. Wanting to act on it was human nature, right? He'd understand, probably. But right now, I was powerless. It felt like I was staring at a big, juicy steak hanging just out of reach, close enough to smell, but impossible to bite. Agony. I shifted my fingers slightly and managed to brush the tip of his ear. Frank stirred. Then he blinked, waking instantly. Anthony, you're awake. How do you feel? Are you hurting anywhere? I'll call the doctor. I immediately retracted my hand, the one that was very much about to do something it shouldn't. Rolling over, bathing, wiping down, eating, I couldn't do any of it myself. And the worst part? Tony wouldn't even let me hire a nurse. He dumped all of it onto Frank Cole instead. Tony had the nerve to say, "You don't get it. I'm giving him a chance to prove himself. If he wants to marry our Anthony, he's gotta pass my test first." Test Frank Cole? Please. This was clearly a test for me. But since I couldn't talk back, the two brothers happily made the decision for me. The person most affected, silently screaming for justice. Frank, meanwhile, was having the time of his life taking care of me for an entire week. His philosophy? If he's mine, I raise him myself. And Frank Cole was very, very good at it. Tony practically grew up under his care, so Frank was no amateur when it came to looking after someone. I barely suffered during my hospital stay. The most suffering I did? Being manhandled like a slippery, naked fish every day in Frank's hands, tossed around, rubbed down, handled like I was some kind of exotic pet. I wanted to protest, to resist. But Frank only smiled at me with doting eyes and said, "Resistance is futile." A few days later, whatever curse spell had gripped my throat finally lifted. I could speak again. And the first thing I did with my recovered voice was try to come clean to Frank. I hadn't dared to bring it up earlier. After all, my life and my pride were still in his hands. "Frank, I'm sorry, but I can't go through with this marriage." The surgery had stabilized me, and I looked okay on the outside. But the doctor had warned of potential long-term complications. To be honest, I already felt lucky just to have slept with Frank Cole. Marrying him? That felt like a fantasy I had no right to entertain. And now, with possible health issues on the horizon, wouldn't I just become a burden to him? He'd been so devoted these past few days, gentle, patient, incredibly kind, which made it all the more important that I not drag him down with me. Frank froze. He stared at me like he didn't understand English. "Why not?" he finally asked, disbelief in every word. "What do you mean you can't? What, did you fall in love with someone else while you were unconscious? Met someone better during surgery?" I shook my head. My throat tightened, and I could feel tears pricking my eyes. "I didn't," I whispered. "I just don't want to be a burden to you." Frank exhaled a short laugh, half angry, half amused. Then he reached out and tapped his finger gently against my forehead. "Anthony Stone, are you some kind of saint? Or wait, no, are you just a complete idiot?" "I'm not an idiot," I mumbled, genuinely hurt. He gave me a look. "Then stop acting like one. Since when do saints get a say in my choices? I want to marry you. I want to be tied to you. I want to take care of you and be smothered by your obsessive clinginess." He rattled off those lines like a machine gun, not even pausing for breath. I was stunned silent. Then, with a calm flourish, Frank pulled out his phone from his pocket and showed me a video. It was from that night. A video of me asking him to kiss me. Me seducing him. Me with a voice so soft it made me blush now, whispering, "Frank, help me." In the video, "Frank, I don't do things without getting something in return." Me, "What do you want? I'll give you anything I have." Frank, "Anything?" Me, "Anything." Frank, "Then remember this. Don't regret it when you wake up. This video will be proof." Me, "I promise. I'll do whatever Frank Cole says. I'll repay him." And then, all the messy, unmentionable, extremely R-rated stuff began. When the video ended, Frank said in a low, smug voice, "From another angle, really, you slept with me. So now you need to take responsibility. Otherwise, I might have to sue you for emotional and physical damage inflicted on a pure-hearted alpha. It'll take me a long time to recover, you know. You now have exactly two options, either marry me or I marry you." I just sat there, dumbstruck. Was I really that wild during my heat? Did I seriously only think about myself and totally forget Frank's feelings? Whoops. Tony was hiding in the corner, eavesdropping and peeking in, grinning so hard it looked like his face might split in half. The moment he realized I hadn't said anything, he leapt out dramatically. "Oh, that overbearing alpha love is real intense. Anthony, just say yes already." Wait a minute, didn't Frank Cole just claim he was a pure alpha? I wasn't buying that. That night he was experienced. His technique was way too polished, especially the kissing. No way that was natural talent. We basically grew up chasing after him. I remember his exes better than he does. But there's something even Tony doesn't know. Frank Cole has someone he's loved secretly for years, someone he could never have. But I know. Back when I was secretly in love with Frank Cole, I went the extra mile and created a burner account. Every day, I'd send him messages like, "Big bro, I like you so much. Ugh, how dare you be so good looking. You've completely stolen my heart." Looking back on those over-the-top, cringeworthy texts, I get secondhand embarrassment just thinking about them. The fact that Frank Cole never blocked me or deleted the account. A miracle. I even tried everything. Love letters, gifts, flowers, money-stuffed envelopes. You name it, I did it. But I was a coward. So I did it all anonymously. None of that obsessive, embarrassing affection could be traced back to Anthony Stone. And then one night, deep into the night, Frank posted something on his social feed. 1 minute later, it was gone. But I had him on special notifications. So I saw it. And I screenshotted it. Frank Cole had written, "So many regrets in this world. Everything can be replaced, except you." Attached was a photo of a beautiful, refined-looking Omega, smiling just the right amount into the camera. On the surface, Frank looked like a playboy, charming, flirtatious, constantly surrounded by admirers. But every person he ever dated, they all looked like him. The real one. The one he loved. The rest of us? We were just stand-ins. I was just the fallback option, what he settled for after a lifetime of loving someone he couldn't have. But still, I couldn't help feeling a little happy about it. A love like Frank Cole's was too magnetic to resist. He was ridiculously handsome, devastatingly flirty, and treated Omegas with a gentle touch that made you melt. In school, he was the university campus heartthrob. After graduation, he became the dazzling gem of Cole Corp. He was the dream alpha, everyone's fantasy. Mine included. I'd been crushing on him for years. So if fate handed me this chance, even as a runner-up, who was I to argue? After I got discharged, Frank and Tony practically dragged me to the Civil Affairs Bureau. We got our marriage certificate. All thanks to Tony whispering in Frank's ear every single day. "Frank, you better hurry. Anthony's a popular sweet Omega. He's got suitors lining up." Yesterday it was some guy named Green. Today it's Mr. Brown. Tomorrow? Probably Mr. White. New names every single day. I swear, if I weren't an Omega too, I'd marry him myself. The rest of y'all can forget it. Truth is, during my hospital stay, I did have a lot of visitors. But they were all co-workers or relatives. Not one was a love rival. Still, Frank saw it all, quietly, intently. And then? He didn't hesitate. Straight to the Civil Affairs Bureau. Snap, a photo. Stamp, a seal. Boom, certificate in hand. Staring at the solemn booklet in my hands, marriage certificate, Frank Cole versus Anthony Stone, my mind was still a complete blur. Everything felt surreal. I tugged on Tony's arm and leaned in as if to bite him. Is this real? Did I actually marry Frank? Tony grinned and took my hand, placing it gently into Frank Cole's. "It's real, Anthony. Your dream just came true." Then he leaned close to my ear and whispered, "He's your official husband now. You can finally put those encrypted folders you sent me to good use." Tony and we had a shared hobby of discussing certain unspoken topics. I may or may not have sent him some private, spicy little files over the years. Frank Cole stood quietly to the side, practically glowing like a model in a magazine, his presence effortlessly magnetic. His eyes, tender and amused, landed softly on us. "What files?" The warmth from his hand in mine sent heat rushing up my neck. "And nothing," I stammered. "Tony, can you not right now?" Tony just gave me a smug anti-smile. He said he wanted to take some commemorative photos for us. Like a stiff little quail, I stood to Frank's left. He held my hand firmly and we both smiled, me awkwardly, at the camera. Behind us, the bold red doors of the Civil Affairs Bureau loomed like silent witnesses. Click, click, click. Tony snapped dozens of shots in a row. "Anthony, look at this one. Gorgeous," he cried. I took a glance. He was right. Frank Cole looked especially striking. He had one of those naturally intense faces, dark lashes, strong features. Even in a plain white shirt, he exuded something magnetic. It was unreal how every strand of hair fell into place, effortlessly seductive. "This one's great too. Tony, you've got talent." A few moments later, Tony's phone rang. His mysterious, arranged marriage partner was summoning him. "Anthony, Frank, I'm heading out. I'll send all the photos to your phones." "Got it," we replied. Once Tony left, It was just me and Frank alone in the car. My heart started beating faster, inexplicably excited. Just as I was about to launch into a heartfelt monologue, Frank turned to me and spoke first. "Can I post on Instagram?" "Huh. Those pictures Tony took. And our marriage certificate." I tried to act chill. "If you want to, go ahead." In my head, "Please post them, I'll die if you don't." Frank's Instagram was notoriously clean. Except for that one deleted post I'd screenshotted years ago, he'd barely ever shared anything. He opened Tony's message thread, saving every photo one by one with care. Each one looked perfect. Eventually, he stopped scrolling, a soft smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. He picked 2 photos, us smiling wide and happy, and began editing the caption. Tony once told him that I, Anthony, was someone who easily felt insecure. This marriage had happened so fast, so unexpectedly, and Frank had been doing his best to cover every base, working to give us both as much security and happiness as possible. After posting, he turned the phone screen toward me. "Anthony, is this okay?" I tapped open his profile. The comments section was already flooded. "Congrats, Mr. Cole. 99999999999 plus blessings. Wow, big alpha plus sweet little omega equals match made in heaven. Wish you two a forever love. Ring heart with arrow. Brother-in-law is so cute. Super adorable top tier sweet O. Frank Cole, you're pretty decent too, I guess." "Frank Cole, you sneaky bastard. Gone for a few days and now you've got a spouse and a warm bed?" "Frank Cole, I'm coming back. Have you two had the wedding yet? Hope I'm lucky enough to be invited." That last comment. No username. No profile picture. Frank hadn't labeled it with any kind of note. But I knew who that was. His white moonlight. The one who went abroad. My feelings had gone from blissful euphoria to walking on clouds lightness, and now it felt like the clouds vanished beneath me, and I was free-falling, headfirst, straight into a pit. I shoved the phone back into Frank Cole's hands in a fit of petty frustration. Then I grabbed my own phone and nearly posted a full 9-photo collage, ready to blast across the internet that Frank Cole was now my alpha. Let all those scheming little omegas back off and quit daydreaming. But every single photo looked amazing, and I couldn't choose just one. I ended up sending them to Tony for backup. While I was sorting through the pictures, Frank Cole sat beside me, speaking in a casual, soft tone, like we were just chatting after dinner. "Anthony," he said, "how about we hold the wedding later, once you've fully recovered? We'll plan everything however you like. Don't worry about the cost." I was too distracted by the photos to really listen. I just absent-mindedly muttered, "Sure." He continued, "I already talked to my parents. They really like you. Tony loves you as his brother-in-law. You really don't have anything to stress about." Still scrolling, "Okay." Frank glanced at me, hesitated, then swallowed. "So, would you consider moving in with me tonight? It'll be easier for me to take care of you, since you're still recovering." I quickly typed, "Sure." Frank's lips curved into an unmistakable smile, his eyes crinkling. "My dearest Mr. Anthony Stone, can I call you baby now?" My fingers froze. "Sure. Wait, what?" Frank leaned in and pressed a soft kiss against my cheek. "Baby." I'd said, "Sure," so many times I didn't even register what I was agreeing to. Now my brain was a scrambled mess of tangled wires, short-circuiting with no hope of recovery. I completely missed whatever else he rambled on about. All I remembered was that word. By the time I fully processed what had happened, my face was redder than a traffic light, hot enough to fry an egg. Shame. So much shame. Where was I supposed to put my filthy little yellow-rated thoughts now? Still, cheeks burning, I forced myself to answer, "Yeah." And in that moment, I let go of the white moonlight. Everyone has a past. But Frank Cole's present and future? They belong to me. And that was enough. Frank Cole and I had one thing in common. We both couldn't stand Lionel Rossington. The guy had the audacity to steal away our beloved Tony. And then he strutted around with that eternally ice-cold face like he was some tragic prince. Disgusting. Especially at 7 p.m. sharp every night. Like clockwork, he'd bail on any social event with the same excuse. You know I'm married now. I have a family. My spouse is strict. I really have no choice. What a load of crap. Tony would never control him like that. But unfortunately, Tony loved him. Ever since their arranged marriage, Tony couldn't hang out with me like he used to. Sensing my sour mood, Tony even showed up to play peacemaker. Anthony, come on. Don't be like this. He said he knows he messed up. He even brought you a gift. See if you like it. This time I'll go out with just you, okay? He's not coming. I huffed. Well, that's more like it. But the truth was, they were legally married now. I couldn't be clingy like before. That just meant I had to cling to his brother now. As it happened, Frank had gone off to a college reunion. And the messages I sent him? Total silence. Usually, even when Frank was out drinking or at a social event, he'd still let me know in advance. He never ignored my messages or calls. Suddenly, I remembered something. Right before he left, he'd asked, Anthony, are you sure you don't want to come with me? Everyone wants to see you. They're curious what the little kid who used to follow me around grew up into. It was his college reunion. I was afraid someone might bring up that person, the one he used to love. So I declined. Nope. Not going. You really don't want to come? No. All right. Stay home then. I'll bring you back something delicious after the hunt. I didn't want him to think I was the jealous, clingy type of Omega. I'd always tried to act cool, mature, even dignified. Never once mentioned white moonlight or any of the exes. Jealousy? Please. I was the official spouse now. Above that kind of thing. And now? Now I regretted it. Just a tiny little bit. Just as I was starting to panic, my phone rang. It was Frank Cole's number. Hello? Is this Anthony Stone? The voice on the other end was unfamiliar, deep, smooth, even a little pleasant. My gut immediately tensed. Who's this? I'm a friend of Frank's. He's had a bit too much to drink. Could you come pick him up? We're at XX bar. All right. I'm on my way. A knot twisted in my stomach. Frank was a heavyweight. He rarely got drunk, unless something or someone triggered it. I rushed to the bar as fast as I could. Just as I reached the private room, I heard voices from inside. Did you hear? Jeremy Lopez is coming back to the country. And he's loaded with awards and honors. Who's that? Seriously? You don't know Jeremy Lopez? He's like every alpha's dream Omega. Now that he's back, I've got a new muse for tonight's dreams. Please. Maybe Frank Cole has a chance. Dream on. Jeremy Lopez. The infamous white moonlight. Frank's first love, and the one that got away. Back when they were young, they were together. But things fell apart. Jeremy had planned to study abroad. But right around that time, Frank's parents fell ill, and Tony was still a kid. Frank had to stay behind to take care of his family. They were forced apart. It had been years since they last saw each other. The moment someone said Jeremy's name, even in his drunk state, Frank visibly froze. I watched his face carefully. He was clearly trying to process what was being said, his head slowly turning toward the voices. He never forgot him, did he? First love. White moonlight. All those sentimental buffs stacked on top of each other. And now Jeremy was back, and from the sound of it, coming back for everything he once had. I clenched the door handle tightly. Anthony, I muttered to myself, your happy days are numbered. Time to wake up from this dream. Not long after, Jeremy Lopez really did return. The entire circle exploded. Even Tony had heard of him. Anthony, Tony said one day, almost giddy, I saw Jeremy Lopez. He's so good-looking, just like everyone said. He's also really sweet. And wow, he plays piano like a dream. When I get a chance, I'll introduce you. I swear, you'll like him too. Tony didn't praise people lightly. That kind of admiration used to be reserved for me. Now, it felt like everything around me was being slowly swallowed up by the name Jeremy Lopez. I couldn't stop thinking, what if Frank Cole only married me out of duty, not love? What if I was just convenient? Or worse, what if I only looked a little like Jeremy Lopez, And that's why Frank had noticed me at all. This dream of a marriage might just be that, a fragile fantasy that could shatter any day. Even if I wasn't ready, I'd have to let go. That's how these melodramatic novels always go, right? The love Frank showed wasn't necessarily for me, Anthony Stone. It could have been for any partner playing the role. I wasn't special. I was just the one who happened to be standing there. So I made up my mind. I would meet Jeremy Lopez. Face to face. He was beautiful. Elegant. He sat gracefully at a grand piano, his pale fingers gliding over the keys, spinning out melodies that wrapped the whole room in a kind of magic. He looked like a fairy tale prince. Untouchable. "Hi," he said, standing up. "I'm Jeremy Lopez." That voice. The posture. The intellect. The musical aura. I couldn't compare to any of it. He just stood there, and I already felt like I didn't measure up. "You're Frank Cole's spouse, right? I've seen your pictures." I was nervous, too nervous, but I reminded myself, I came here to make a point. Be strong. Be firm. "I just want you to know," I said, trying to hold my ground, "Frank and I are married. Whatever happened before, it's over. You have no chance with him now." Jeremy smiled. A calm, knowing kind of smile. "I think there's been a misunderstanding," he said kindly. "I don't look back. What's in the past stays there. I have no regrets. And I don't chase what I've already lost. I wouldn't try to come between you two. You're married, that's sacred. Frank and I? We're just friends now. That's all we'll ever be. I just wanted to wish you both happiness. And if you invite me to the wedding, hey, you'll get a free pianist out of it." He smiled, this playful, shining kind of smile that made him feel almost unreal. And while I was still trying to process his words, something happened behind me. A drunk, stumbling middle-aged man bumped into me from behind, nearly knocking me over. Jeremy Lopez reacted fast, pulling me out of the way just in time. He leaned in and asked gently, "Are you okay? Did you get hurt?" His long, pale fingers were wrapped around my arm. And when he came closer, I caught a faint scent on him, subtle, clean, and elegant. It smelled really nice. His stunning, delicate face was filled with genuine worry, not the performative kind, but the real, raw kind. My cheeks started to heat up, and my words came out in a flustered mess. "All right, then I'll invite you when the time comes. And, thank you." If this was Frank Cole's White Moonlight, if it was Jeremy Lopez, then honestly, I could accept it. Falling for an omega like him? Who wouldn't? If I were Frank, I'd probably have been quietly pining after him for a whole decade too. I floated home like my limbs weren't connected to my body. And Frank Cole was waiting for me at the door. "Anthony," he said seriously, "what's been going on with you lately? You've been off. If something's bothering you, you can tell me. Or if you don't want to tell me, talk to Tony at least. If there's something I'm not doing right, just tell me, I'll fix it." This tall, handsome alpha standing in front of me. Ever since we got married, he'd been nothing but good to me. Gentle, attentive, always doing whatever I asked. He was practically the poster child for a husband under his wife's thumb, and he seemed to like it. After that college reunion fiasco, I'd made him promise to be home every night by 8 p.m. It was a bit controlling. Okay, a lot controlling. But he went along with it willingly. I finally gathered the courage to ask him something that had been weighing on my chest. "Frank, there's something I've wanted to ask for a while, but I've been too afraid to. Why did you choose me? And I don't mean that vague answer you gave me before. I want the real reason. What's in your heart?" Frank flicked his fingers and tapped me lightly on the forehead. "Because I love you, dummy." I blinked. "Since when? Was it after we got married? Or before? That matters to me." Frank tilted his head, a small smirk tugging at his lips. "You ever heard of someone named Bite a Mango?" My breath caught. Bite Mango. That was the anonymous account I used to flirt with him back in the day. Frank's smile deepened. That guy used to send me the weirdest messages, flirty stuff, straight up trying to seduce me. Sometimes he'd send the wrong thing, like selfies, and then immediately delete them. And don't even get me started on the anonymous love letters. Sloppy as hell. Sloppy? I bristled. Excuse me, they were flawless. Were they? He chuckled, leaning down to meet my eyes. Then tell me why I never blocked him. Why I saved his letters when I ignored everyone else's. Why I didn't care about anyone else's heat, except his. I blinked, dumbfounded. Why? He suddenly leaned in and kissed me, quick, firm, on the lips. Then he narrowed his eyes, gaze intense. You tell me. I tried to play dumb. I don't know. Behind me was the cold wall. In front of me was Frank, closing in. His voice dropped. Is it possible? I've known it was you all along. I didn't say a word. Because the truth was, I was a coward. But Tony? That little traitor couldn't keep a secret to save his life. He'd sold me out years ago. Probably gave Frank a full PowerPoint presentation. The way you looked at me, it was pretty obvious. Frank Cole realized it one sweltering summer day. He caught Tony sneaking into his room like a cartoon burglar, suspicious and twitchy. A few minutes later, Tony snuck back out again, like a guilty little mouse who'd just stolen cheese. Frank didn't say a word. He walked into the room and noticed something different. Tucked inside a book was a blue envelope. A love letter. But the handwriting and the tone? He knew immediately who it was from. There was only one person who could get Tony to break his own rules and play messenger. You always felt off limits, Frank murmured later, his voice brushing hot against my skin. You were Tony's little friend. Too young. Too close. I couldn't make a move. But now you've grown up. Frank's hands were already wandering, slow, teasing, hungry. How did you turn out exactly like my type? Every damn part of you. Anthony, take care of me, won't you, baby? My rut's hitting. Please help me through it. I really can't do this without you. I couldn't resist Frank Cole's charm even if I had 1,000 lifetimes to try. The moment he started whispering to me like that, my ears practically melted. Whatever you want. 2 hours later, the room was still hazy with heat. And we were both in the post-glow stillness of sage time. Frank let out a dramatic sigh. He looked wronged, deeply wronged. People always say I've dated 100 people. That's not true, you know, he grumbled. The only person I ever really liked was Jeremy Lopez. Yeah, it was real. But we were kids. That kind of love burns bright and burns out. With time, I couldn't even tell if it was regret or real love anymore. But then you showed up, he said, tugging me closer, and everything changed. This time, the love just keeps growing stronger. Day by day. Bone deep. I raised an eyebrow. Then what about that guy you brought back to your apartment? The one you let stay over? Frank scoffed. That's my cousin. You don't think he looks a little like Tony? Crap. He kind of did. I narrowed my eyes. What about that hotel scandal? The one the press went wild over. You and some mystery companion on a business trip. Frank's jaw clenched. Don't even bring that up. That guy staged the whole thing. He paid the media. He was trying to get in my bed. I didn't touch him. All these years, Frank Cole's reputation had been dragged through the mud. The rumors. The gossip. The endless stories. And he'd never once bothered to correct any of it. Just let the world believe he was a playboy lost in his own chaos. Now that the gossip was biting back, he looked genuinely wounded. My heart hurts, he muttered. My baby almost misunderstood me. I seriously can't live without you. Later, we held a grand wedding. The anonymous love letter, finally revealed to the world. All those years I thought I was pining alone, he had been watching me quietly, letting me chase him, letting me love him, and all the while loving me back. 1 year after the wedding, we had a baby. His name was Tom Cole, a sharp-eyed, cool-tempered little beta. Tom inherited the best of both of us, brains, beauty, balance. Even as a toddler, he had opinions and a stable personality. And that boy? He could eat. A lot. I couldn't stop showing him off, especially to Tony. And yes, I did show off every chance I got. A few years later, Tony had a baby too. Another angel. Stephen Rossington, a sweet little alpha with a marshmallow voice. He'd chase after Tom everywhere, calling him Tom Tom in that soft, sugary tone that could melt glaciers. Watching the two of them, hand in hand, chasing butterflies in the garden, I suddenly understood. Fate doesn't take you in circles for nothing. Every detour, every heartbreak, every step in the wrong direction, it was all just a winding path leading us to each other. Every bump in the road was just a love story in disguise. The end.
Thanks for stopping by. Subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any new videos.